sometimes you speak at the wrong time. Like today, when Khalil kissed me on my forehead, you told me you wanted me to yourself. You can tell the group.
Hey guys, welcome to Little Black Button 91. Listen, I want to talk to you time about King's Court. It's interesting how this conversation turned from being a lovely date at the very first few minutes. She asked him a question, what he thought about her, and she said, "What do you like about me?" And all of a sudden, it turned into an argument. And not only did that argument lead to frustration, but actually then Titus then walked off. And I wanted to ask this question: why is it that someone like Titus, who has a conversation and there's a disagreement, suddenly will walk off? Well, if you know the channel very well, we talk about attachment styles quite a bit. I believe that Titus is a fearful avoidant. We know his background. He comes from a place where his mother was odd. And because of that trauma, he grew up with a mother who was 12 years old, and he had to work through that, right? And that is instant chaos. That is instantly somebody who's grown up in some level of chaos, some level of trauma, some level of abuse, because of course my mother was abused as well. And so we know that fearful avoidance grew up in households where there is a lack of safety, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, sexually, financially. There's a lack of safety in that particular household, or the parents can either be unpredictable, or they could end up being parents that are very loving but at the same time can be abusive at the same time, right? Which is the conflict. And so fearful avoidance in their mind associate love with pain or love with harm. Why is that important in Titus's case? Well, because it's the way that he deals with conflict. It's the way that he perceives conflict to be. And if you're fearful avoidant, you know this. The way that you perceive conflict is that almost as if that when you have that disagreement, the world's about to end. When you have the disagreement, this is going to lead to some level of harm on your case. If you have a disagreement, this is going to lead to rejection, betrayal, or abandonment. It's not going to go the way you want it to go. In fact, your needs are not important. In fact, your opinions, your emotions are not taken into consideration. So it seems, because the environment that you actually grew up in. And so when it comes to conflict, all you're seeing is it's going to end negatively. When really and truly, the truth of the matter is you just don't feel safe. And so for Titus, he has to reset himself and leave the function to come back. So let's watch a little bit more of the few clips. But if you are new here, make sure you like, you share, subscribe, you click on that wonderful bell button. We are answering this question: why is it that Titus fled Katherine when actually the conversation started off really beautifully? Why do you flee in these situations? Why don't you stay and have a conversation? And we're going to explain some of those points with you as well. And here's 5 points really, really quickly on why this happens. Number 1 is emotional safety. Number 2 is a fear of abandonment, rejection. Number 3 is a lack of skills and tools to be able to actually disagree safely. Number 4, it's low self-belief and low self-belief that you will be actually heard and seen. And number 5 is that conflict feels like the end, as I've said already. Okay, so we're going to break this down for you guys in this scenario, and hopefully you'll be able to see a bit of yourselves as well and be able to hopefully begin to heal parts of yourself going forward. All right, let's have a look.
I don't think she was meaning anything by you.
Well, my preference is for us to not talk about Kalia on this date.
Pause. What's happened here? So he's brought up a situation which had nothing to do with the conversation, by the way. The conversation was her asking, what you like about her. And then he chose an inappropriate time to bring up a conversation about what he did not like about her. Right? So he listed all the good things and then brought all the bad things about her. Now, why does that happen? First and foremost, you know why this happens as a fearful avoidant. It's because you have not been honest throughout the course of the day or throughout the course of the week. So what's actually happened is you've chosen inappropriate time because you feel like it's weighing you down, and you're like, you know what, this is a perfect time to announce it and address it. You found the courage, you found the energy to do so, and it's like, but the timing's wrong, right? Number 1. Number 2, when she actually pushes back and says, hey, this, I would rather that we spend time just talking about us, and she pushes back, he feels that's a confrontation immediately, right? He feels like he's being challenged and his safety is being compromised emotionally in this space. What's being compromised is his safety in terms of, when we talk about emotional safety, we talk about the ability to be able to express yourselves freely of any punishment, judgment, shame, guilt, in that aspect, right? And about 8 pillars. And one of those pillars is the ability to receive criticism. And so when people are not safe, especially avoidance, they actually struggle in the area when it comes to dealing with criticism. They're very sensitive to it because they consider criticism a personhood, not a behavior. So when people are saying, I don't like this, what they're hearing is you don't like me, rather than hearing, I don't like what you did. And so the association is what you did means now I am a bad person. Because again, the child grew up in an environment where emotional neglect took place, unpredictable parenting took place. They weren't always safe, and their emotional needs weren't really taken care of. And so actually, the reason why they weren't taken care of, the child has to make this deduction in their mind. The reason my needs were not taken care of is because I was a bad child. It makes easier sense for that child to reason that way than any other thought process. So when you grow up, you got that same thought process. The reason why I'm being told off is because I'm a bad person, right? And so that makes it very difficult to receive criticism safely. And as you actually watch again, he actually shakes his head like he's like, no. But even though he's the one that brought the conversation.
Mean anything by you.
Now you can see that she's also frustrated because she had to suck in her cheeks because she's thinking this is not the greatest time to have this conversation. I mean, she looks lovely in a white dress, by the way. But also something that's going on with her as well at the same time. So she gives a pushback. And I actually think it was a really understandable pushback. I just know that it sounded differently in his ear in that particular space, right? Okay.
Well, my preference is for us to not talk about Kalia on this date.
I'm not talking about her specifically. I'm talking about the action. If you had an issue with her doing something like that, you could have said to me, hey, that's what I'm talking about.
Now, my boys, they always get my boy dirty here because they always get with something with a bit of food on his lip. They need to stop doing that to my boy. I like Titus. But no, real spit in this situation, no pun intended. In this scenario, right? He's gone from standing up to now sitting down, which means the levels have changed. Conversation has changed. He's trying to, obviously, I always recommend sitting down because it means the argument won't go too far. But interesting enough, she actually just let him know her preference. She said, I prefer that you wouldn't do that, right? And instead of actually just saying, you know what, I hear you, and then resetting, he's already triggered. He's emotionally aroused already because there's a challenge coming his way. And what that can be a challenge, not necessarily just to your manhood. It's not just to your ego. It really is a challenge in terms of you being wrong and you being a bad person. So now, instead of actually just being able to go, okay, you know what, I hear you. Let's talk about this another time. I do apologize. I brought this up at the wrong time. And then stepping back, we can only go forwards. All right. Which is going to take the conversation completely left. All right.
If it was about me and you, to me, like you could have easily just let that go.
My question.
And it's funny because then he says you could have easily let it go. And of course, they're chopping and changing, which means that the conversation isn't in full sync. It means they've chopped and cut pieces that might have come after he said that, because why is he sitting down and stand up again? But yes, when he said obviously you could have let it go, he's right, he could have, but so could have you, because this isn't the right time to have a conversation. But because we're stuck on trying to say our piece because we finally got the opportunity to say what we felt towards a person, we've chosen the wrong timing, and now we're stuck because now we're trying to push forward this point, which really isn't necessary right now. It's the correct point, it's just not right now, right? And because also she was unwilling to accept and say, hey, you know what? I received that, my bad. It was the wrong timing to say that. Can we discuss this later on and continue this conversation and continue our good night? See, because she also needs to be balanced too, right? But we're talking about Titus. But this is also how you save a scenario, because the other person also feels attacked and they feel like their back's against the wall. That's what she felt like. But had she felt balanced, should have been able to say, look, I hear you and I receive it. You know what? I'm probably not even the best place to be able to receive what you're saying to me right now. And I want to be able to understand where you're coming from. So can we push this back to a little bit later on? Let's enjoy our night for right now. And then we discuss this later on. That would have been a great way to say, I honor and I hear what you're saying. But instead, she didn't. She refuted it by saying, I'd rather not just talk about it right now, which is also a shutdown of the person's point of view. And I'm telling you, this is so hard to do. It's so difficult to do. But let's focus on Titus because we're talking about fearful avoidance, okay? So for fearful avoidance, as I said before, this unresolved shame from early experiences where vulnerability is punished, mocked, or abandoned becomes very difficult. Okay, so conflict feels like a disagreement, and more like conflict doesn't feel like a disagreement. It feels more like a character assassination. And so the nervous system, okay, starts being triggered and fired up because it's hearing a correction and hearing I am bad rather than hearing, hey, I didn't like this. And it's hearing I'm safe rather than actually hearing, hey, you're good. I just want to just say I don't agree. right? And so the fear of being punished and humiliated starts to spark a reaction that's going to be a fight or flight response. And we saw with Titan, he first fights and then he then flees, okay? So instead of saying present, they begin to disconnect. And that's why he's going to end up leaving this particular scenario. Number two, the fear of abandonment and rejection can actually play a role in this for why you're going to not have the greatest conversation with somebody, okay? Right? The FA holds this hot and cold perspective, right? They want to be open, they want to be vulnerable, right? But at the same time, it's very scary for them. The fear of being harmed is real for them if they open up. If I open up to you and you see the real me, you can end up rejecting me. And if that's the case, or abandoning me or betraying me, you can really do some damage to me. If I'm not guarded, then and I let my guard down, that's a punch I don't see coming. That can really hurt me. It's almost like the title, the devil you know is better than the one that you don't, right? So the arguments activate the belief that if I disagree, or if we talk too long, or we get into an argument that's extended, I will be abandoned or left, or rather even I will be made to be the bad guy, right? And it's like almost as well, what happens is I can't tell people the truth because then they make it into a massive thing, but they don't realize that you telling the truth at the wrong time is what's caused this issue. So you're right. You telling the truth can cause a big issue, but if you don't pay attention to the timing of when you did that thing, that's what's going to cause an issue. Okay. All right. And so sometimes when you're walking away, it's really about you being preemptive. You're trying to stop the rejection. You're trying to stop the person formulating a particular idea. You don't want to come across as the bad person who has arguments and is argumentative, right? But really it's just a flight response. Okay. And actually what you're doing is you're actually inducing the abandonment effect. But let's go a bit further again and watch a bit more.
Question was, what do you like about me? That's what I wanted to know. But then you started complaining about what you don't like. I didn't ask you that.
I do want to.
So now it's going to turn into an argument, because now she's saying, listen, hey, I'm digging my heels in. You telling me this, you're complaining, but really and truly, I asked you a question about something positive to me. Now, what's missing from this scenario is her actual breakdown of what she felt. So she, in this moment, what she could have added was saying, hey, I really appreciate you bringing this up to me. When I asked the question about what you loved about me, I wasn't expecting it to turn into a conversation about Khalil, which also made me feel hurt in that moment, because I really wanted to enjoy my time with you. And talking about Khalil and what Khalil did and what I did, I hear it and I receive it, but I just felt like the timing. I want to enjoy your space. I want to enjoy your time. I want to be present with you. But now I'm feeling disconnected because I feel like I'm being criticized in a moment where I feel like we should be enjoying ourselves. Do you see how different that sounds to what she said? She's valid for what she said. And many of you are going to say she's valid, and I agree with you, but there's a way to handle affairs. And I'm not blaming her. I'm more stating for you also to learn how to be more secure. I'm learning this too. Maybe it ain't easy, because I would have done what she said. How dare you did it? But I recognize that, hey, I want to hear you right now, but I'm struggling to hear you right now because the timing of what you're saying is throwing me off. I want to enjoy your presence and your time, and I don't know if this is the right time. It's not the right time for me to be able to receive this critique, because I want to enjoy your time. So is that right? We push it to the side, and let's talk about this tomorrow in the morning, maybe, and then let's discuss it. But I want to, just for now, let's enjoy each other's presence. Let's enjoy each other's time. Do you know how hard that is to do? It's so difficult to do, because you have to keep yourself balanced and keep yourself on an even keel. That's hard. That's what we call real emotional regulation. You will know because your response is regulated. Now that's hard. Okay, so I understand it.
Address this so that you'll understand, like, that's not okay with me.
So, listen, I know when a man is interested in me. I don't want to.
See, now we've got a beef between the two of them. Now we've got a standoff, because what he's now going to say is like, hey, I want to let you know that this thing is not okay with me. I hear it. And you're right, Titus. What you felt like in that moment, your perception of what she did, it's not right what she did. Yeah. Understandably, the timing is wrong. It's horrible. Number two, we're not backing down now. And number three, we're also not reassuring her that, hey, I want to spend this time with you. You know what? I'm enjoying your company. I just wanted to address this because I wanted to make sure that we had a clear air. Where is that conversation? Where is that preempting before that conversation? Because right now it just feels like criticism without no real, real encouragement. You know what I mean? So she has to take the brunt of your criticism rather than actually taking the compliments, which is what she actually asked of. And it does feel it will feel a little bit manipulative to the other person. It will feel very hurtful to the other person because it's like we started on a positive. Why are we on a negative? I haven't even done anything to end on a negative apart from what was done previously. It can seem almost narcissistic because it seems like you're twisting the story around. But this actually happens in regular relationships all the time. People choose bad timing. They don't talk about how they really feel at the moment. So they have a delayed reaction. Then they get the person in a nice moment where they're having dinner or an evening out or some time with the person alone. And then it's like, okay, I remember that you did this thing. I want to address it now because I don't know when I'll get a chance to address it again. And again, that comes to your poor emotional regulation, but also as well, timing and decision-making. And that's something I had to learn myself as an avoidant, timing and decision-making, because sometimes it will burn in my chest and I've held it for a week and now I want to address it now. And now, right now, probably isn't the best time, but I want to address it now because I'm tired. But really and truly, what's happened is I've had a delayed reaction. I couldn't address it at the time. Now I've got it. What I should be doing is actually I should be making sure that the conversation before we start, I want to let you know, hey, you know, I want to have a conversation about what happened last week. Is this the right time to have the conversation? But what ends up happening is people start loading what happened last week and unloading in that conversation. And now it's going to go back and forth. And that's what Titus missed. He missed this opportunity here. If you wanted to have that conversation, you should have asked her consensually whether she wants to have that conversation right now, whether she's in a place to have that conversation. You just decided you want to have it right now because it was about your feelings right now. And many people do this. They're selfish in that moment. Many of us do this, including myself. We're selfish in that moment. It's like my feelings are the most important thing to me right now, and I want to address it right now. Okay.
Keep any man that doesn't want to be kept. You seem like you have an agenda. If you are uncomfortable on this date and you wish you would have invited someone else.
If I did not want you here, you would not be on this date with me.
If that's where.
See, now we're doing tit for tat and power plays between the two of us. Because now what we're getting is if you really wanted me, if you want to invite somebody else on a date, and what she's really saying is I'm hurt. Instead of her just being truthful and say, hey, look, I feel hurt in this moment. That's vulnerability. What she did is what anxious people normally do. And fearful avoidance do and dismissive people do is that they round up the point and make a deduction like, oh, if you really cared about me, you wouldn't do this. And that's not what you need to be saying, because that's just going to trigger the other person more, right? So now she's rounding up saying, well, if you really want to invite someone else, she'll just let me know. And then he's going to round up to, well, if I wanted to invite somebody else, I would have just done that. And you're not hearing the pain of each other right now, right? She's in pain because of what he's done, and he feels like he's triggered now because he's in pain because like that's not what I'm trying to say, but at the same time, it's the way you've addressed it. Okay, all right, and this is really important. So again, this comes back to a lack of skills and tools to disagree safely. Okay, many fearful avoidants haven't seen a healthy conflict modeled to them, right? They usually it's aggression, it's betrayal, it's a silent treatment, it's abuse, it's verbal accostings, it's emotional torment. There's so many different things that usually happen for a fearful avoidant in their childhood when it comes to communication that they don't feel safe having. They have to almost monopolize or have control or play the victim. There is no middle ground here. Right. And because they've never practiced being able to articulate and say what their actual needs are without the other person punishing them or losing their love or abandoning them or rejecting them. Sometimes what they end up doing is what both parties have done here. Well, if I didn't want you here, I would want you. If I don't want you here, you could have just said so. Or if I did want you here, I would have never had you here. My actions should speak louder. While your actions do speak louder, your words are also an action right now. Ooh. You didn't know that. Sometimes we say, oh, my actions speak louder than my words. No, but your words are also your action because you're speaking, which is actually an action. Come on, somebody. You know what I mean? You'll get it when you get it. Okay. So when conflict arises, the ability to be able to reason, disagree, be regulated isn't there. They haven't built up the emotional capacity to be able to do so. Okay. And so also that fear of not being heard and the low level of belief that you'll be heard creates more trauma for the person. Also, actually, more impetus for the person to, again, challenge and to push and to disagree. Okay, all right. So they already in their head think to themselves, my needs don't matter. So my words won't land, or why even bother? Or if I keep talking about this, they're not going to hear me, which is what's going to come in a few minutes, in a few seconds time for
Your
Titus.
attention is, if
all
you
right, well,
can't
if that's how
oblige
you-
me for a date and focus on me like
Okay,
I
so
asked,
you're
I asked you something, and
I have
seconds
literally, I
later,
literally just sat
does
here and
this
took,
feel like a date to you?
okay, no, it does not.
I felt like
So now all this back and forth that's happening where they're kind of like interrupting each other is what's actually going to trigger the leaving moment, because now he's going to feel like he's not being heard. We saw this with Dr. Khalil. We saw this with what's the other lady's name? There's another lady that I think you haven't. It's the same kind of thing where he doesn't feel heard. He wants to be out. He's out. He's out the door. Because you can't do that to him because he feels unsafe in that moment. Whether we agree or not, it is what it is. But again, it comes back to that belief in the mind and the script that we carry, the story we tell ourselves. My needs don't matter. My needs won't be heard. Why even bother? What's the point? Shut down and leave. Avoidance do this. Both dismissive and fearful avoidance do this. So there's no point talking about it because you don't care enough, or you know what, people don't care enough to hear me. Okay, because you're believing that resolution is impossible. That's why all the hope goes out the window and you leave. Okay, so it's easier to withdraw than it is to be humbled, punished, embarrassed, shamed, etc.
I was trying to bring this back. You don't have any interest in wanting to do ours. You're leaving?
I am. So if you're saying that I'm not interested in you, then we cut the date out. Because if that's how you feel, then what's the sense of me wasting my time?
Now you know that he had to cut through the slap, but he didn't want to cut through it. That's why she's now saying you're leaving. Now she didn't expect him to leave. She thought they were having a disagreement, and he's leaving because he feels in the disagreement he's afraid of not feeling safe, right? So the disagreement doesn't feel like, oh, these are ups and downs. No, the disagreement feels like this is the end of the world. This is over. Okay, the disagreement feels like you don't love me, you're against me, you'll harm me. Okay, all right. It's a natural. You start to catastrophize the actual situation, and that comes from childhood. Because in childhood, you were harmed, you were not safe, you were accosted, you were verbally, mentally abused at certain points, right? Neglected, abandoned. If you shared your feelings, you might have been, you know, asked to go away or whatever, dismissed. So all of these things play a role in there being an aspect where the person's unable to allow a disagreement to happen or take place. They don't think the relationship can survive if there's conflict, right? So they run away in order so that they can avoid the death of this relationship. Okay. So that's what happens to a lot of fearful avoidance. And this is why we do a lot of this stuff in coaching. We talk about this a lot. If this is something you go through, this is something we want to start giving you tools to be able to start working through. Again, it's about naming what's happening to you. Titus in that moment should have been saying, hey, I want to leave right now because I'm scared. At this moment, I'm scared. And you can only say that when you are brave, number one, courageous, number two. Number three, also you're able to actually name what's going on with you. And a lot of times people are brave and people are courageous. They just don't know how to name what's going on with them. They feel something, but they're not sure what. So they got to run away. And so what ends up happening is we need to formulate language. We need to give you language to be able to say what's happening to you. In that moment, I do feel scared and I want to run away. I don't know how to resolve this, which is an honest answer. I don't know how to resolve this. And so I'm scared. I like you. I want to be around you. I want to spend time with you, but I brought up something and I feel like I thought I was right. You're saying I'm wrong and you saying I'm wrong is making me feel embarrassed and shamed. Now, it sounds so simple what I said, but I mean, it's one of the most difficult things to do. But hey, I want to leave it here. If you're somebody who's going through this, I want you to understand there is hope at the end of the tunnel. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, it can be solved and you can heal. We just need to teach you how to have conflict resolution skills. We need to teach you how to be emotionally safe. We need to give you those tools and skills in order to do so. But look, my time is up. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notifications of our uploads. We appreciate you guys. The locks are loaded. We'll see you again soon.
You know what time it is.